Well, First Minister, I'd like to thank you for your positive words, and also, of course, take this opportunity, which feels appropriate, to publicly congratulate you in becoming the first Muslim leader of a Western democratic country, which I think is something everybody here takes great honour and satisfaction in. Now, as faith and belief communities, we are appreciative of the support of you and your government. I remember actually in 2020, when we was doing an Edinburgh Interfaith podcast, when Yousaf was in, the Transport Secretary was kind enough to give us around 30 minutes of his time then. And in that interview, you shared the importance of your faith to you and how much you personally valued all the work that our faith communities were doing, especially at that difficult time during COVID, where really we were becoming almost a fourth emergency service, helping the most vulnerable. And it was great to hear you speak now of the role that our faith and belief communities play in making Scotland a more stronger and fairer and better community, better country. And we recently reading in your open letter to faith and belief communities of how you believe that interfaith dialogue and collaboration contributes significantly to healing divisions, promoting community cohesion, and harnessing the power of compassion to create a fairer Scotland for everyone. We Scots have so much to be proud of, and we should shout about our achievements wide and loud. I say that standing in a castle or in a city voted as the most popular and beautiful destination often in the world. Apologies to you from Glasgow. Learn to appreciate a nice castle view. And another thing we don't talk up enough is our strong interfaith and community relationships, which I know are regarded as leading internationally. How do I know that? Well, as a co-founder of the European Interfaith Network, the Cities, Faith and Communities Forum, and part of the small working group alongside Neil Walker, as I was saying, and Shabir Beg, who are looking to bring the Parliament of the World Religions here to Scotland, and hopefully in 2026. I know that our international partners highly regard the interfaith work that is done here. That's one of the reasons that the Parliament is very interested to come to Scotland, and they were very impressed by their visit here in November 2022, where they met many representatives from faith communities here and interfaith organisations. What makes interfaith relations so good here in Scotland? Well, it's a hard question to answer, but let me share some experiences from Edinburgh. We're looking towards our 35-year anniversary of Scotland's oldest interfaith body next year, and my mind is turning to the memory of our late founder, Professor Frank Whaley, who sadly passed away last year. Frank spent a lot of time in India and experienced the closeness of communities who came together to celebrate one another's festivals. And he tried to forge that sense of interfaith community here in Edinburgh, bringing people together for interfaith dinners in people's homes. Out of that grew Edinburgh Interfaith Association, but despite the passing of the years or the growing of the association's reputation as a leading interfaith body and consultancy, we've never lost that sense of community. And we continue to celebrate the key moments in one another's lives, and we continue in times of struggle to be there for one another. Because that's what real respect, friendship and community is all about. That sense of respect for our faith communities, and I'm pleased that that's something that also our politicians share. And I know from my experience of talking to European partners, that's not always the case. In some countries, some of the language spoken by political leaders towards faith communities, and some of the countries' policies can be very damaging to community trust and relations. And many of our European colleagues are very envious of relationships that we have here between political leaders and faith communities, and the positive developments that have come in Scotland in the last few years. For example, we have faith and belief group meetings that Lara expertly chairs that are bringing faith leaders, faith groups together to talk about issues that are important to faith communities and government. And that's helped to bond and foster strong relationships. And also the faith and belief strategy, which looks to build upon this through strengthening communication, engagement and collaboration between Scottish Government and Scotland's diverse faith and belief communities. And that importance of strong collaboration between faith and belief communities and government is starting to become recognised across the world. Just a few days ago at the Parliamentary Conference on interfaith dialogue in Marrakesh, Duarte Pacheco, who is the IPU president, said this: "Although MPs and religious leaders have different mandates, they share the common goal of serving communities and promoting their well-being. They can be allies in our common cause for social justice and peaceful coexistence." So I'll end where I started, that we have much to celebrate and commend about interfaith relations in Scotland. And I believe our country is stronger, more cohesive, and a much more welcoming place as a result of the work of Edinburgh Interfaith Scotland, Interfaith Glasgow, and the work of the many local faith groups and local interfaith bodies across the country. To share a recent example from Edinburgh Interfaith, since October last year, we've delivered over 20 religious and belief roadshows to thousands of pupils in primary schools across Edinburgh. And the roadshows bring representatives of 6 different faith and belief communities together. We have Jewish speakers, Muslim speakers, Buddhist, many different speakers of different faith and beliefs. And interestingly, Police Scotland are always there, because they see that as important for community safety and relations. These are really promoting respect and understanding. And the roadshows became so successful because they create opportunities for one-on-one interactions between children and people of different faiths and belief systems. Over 95% of children say they've learned something new about a religion or belief, and the vast majority have said they feel more confident to speak to someone from a different faith or religion after being at one of those roadshows. And that's what interfaith dialogue does. It creates these opportunities for interfaith encounters to take place, to break down barriers, to get rid of the labelling, the stereotype, the othering, and promote genuine respect, love, and friendship and understanding for one another. And at the end of that recent roadshow, when a 9-year-old boy was asked, "What have you learned?" he said this: "I learned how the world works." When he saw those different people standing together, I learned how the world worked. And that to me is very heartwarming. And that's what I see also around this room. We see Scotland as a great example of how the world works, with so many different faiths living and working together in harmony. But it's not a time to be complacent. We see high levels of Islamophobia, anti-Semitism sweeping across Europe and America. So we need to work hard to maintain and build on those strong interfaith relations to prevent those hate ideologies from being imported here. So let us continue to support and build upon our strong interfaith and faith relationships in Scotland. And remember, when we support one another's rights, we also importantly support our own. Thank you.